Good evening and welcome to Orenda Books at Bedtime. I'm Karen Sullivan, publisher of Orenda Books, and you're in for a treat tonight. We've got not just a lockdown edition of Orenda Books at Bedtime, but a special prize edition. And tonight we're celebrating 2 long listings for the Theakston's Old Peculier Crime Novel of the Year, and that is Helen Fitzgerald for Worst Case Scenario and Will Carver for Nothing Important Happened Today. We're going to be hearing from both of them tonight, reading from their books. And at the bottom of your screen, you'll see some details for how you can vote for these books and put these books on the map for shortlisting and eventually winning. But here we go. Let's start with Helen Fitzgerald and Worst Case Scenario. So this is a devastatingly dark and funny psychological thriller featuring Mary, who is on her last case. She's a parole officer in Glasgow, and she drinks a little bit too much, and she is, as I said, menopausal, hence the term menopause noir for this book. Let me tell you a little bit about it. Mary Shields is a moody, acerbic probation officer dealing with some of Glasgow's worst cases, and her job is on the line. Liam McDowell was in prison for murdering his wife, and he's published a series of letters to the dead woman in a book that makes him an unlikely hero and a poster boy for men's rights activists. Liam is released on license under Mary's supervision, but things are far from simple. Mary develops a poisonous obsession with Liam and his world, and when her son and Liam's daughter form a relationship, Mary will stop at nothing to impose her own brand of justice with devastating consequences. So this is a heart-pounding, relentless, chilling psychological thriller. It's rich with deliciously dark and unapologetic humor, as we've come to expect from Helen Fitzgerald. But it's a perceptive, tragic, and hugely relevant book, and it's by one of the most original names in crime fiction. So, over to Helen.
Helen Fitzgerald, can I ask you, where are you and what you're doing?
I am in my house in Glasgow, and this is Orenda in isolation, in a bedroom, in an isolated bedroom at night. It's a combination of Orenda at bedtime and Orenda in isolation. Yeah, so I'm here in my bedroom in Glasgow, and luckily I have an ex-journalist as a partner, and he's going to be asking the questions because I can't think of anything to say.
What did people think of your last book? Did they think it was a good book?
That's not the sort of question that you can ask. So I'm going to just think of things myself. I'm glad you moved on to screenwriting. That was mean, sorry. We've been living in this house a long time together, and our adult children are here, and we thought that we'd gotten rid of them. So it's been kind of nice. It has been nice. I'm saying that because I have to. They're very close by. But yeah, we've been back to sort of Familyville, which has been really nice. Every room is sort of transformed into a sort of activity of some sort, like the dining table is table tennis table now. I've set up an assault course of various activities in the garden, such as basketball and skipping and so forth, and we've pretty much done none of those things. But we've been eating a lot, and we haven't had anyone who we love sick yet, so we've been really, really lucky. And we've got a garden, so we've been lucky to be able to just get it outside as well. In terms of work, I haven't had any...
Sorry.
Yeah.
Forget your work.
Oh.
Could you tell us about your hair?
Oh, so this is my hair dyeing attempt number 3, and it is also with a cut. Before filming, Serge suggested that I should use a clip or a flower or something just to cut up the colour, because it kind of looks like a picture of me and someone just painted black on it. But anyway, we're learning lots of new skills like potato growing, and the other day I heard my daughter say to Dad, don't use all my magnesium. She had asked for Christmas last year. Her Christmas list was the most bizarre thing. It was surgical masks and antibacterial spray. She wanted gloves and all sorts of things, and we thought that's really, really weird, but we got her, within reason, a few of each. But there you go. Good on you, Anna. So she's been very good to have around. She's a good prepper. And we're going to get our bug out sorted really soon.
Any work-based news?
No work-based news. I'm doing nothing. And I'm trying to work out what to write next, because I was kind of wondering about a screenplay, and I've got a few things kind of ticking over in development, but nothing happens in development, actually. So
Where's Mary Shields?
Mary Shields during lockdown, do you mean?
Yeah.
Oh, so she'll be in her You know, Pollockshield's flat drinking heavily, like I think the rest of Glasgow is doing. Watch it, Glasgow. And but she's probably still having to do a job too, and I don't know how much protective gear and so forth there would be, but she'd still be visiting, I imagine, high-risk offenders and doing all the same stuff. So it'd be an interesting and stressful time for our Mary, and I'm glad I'm not living with her. So
Now, that was in the worst case scenario, your last book. Your current book, Ash Mountain, what's happening with that?
absolutely nothing. And I was going to read, oh, it's out now. Sorry, my publisher. She's going to hate me. It's out now on Kindle. So Ash Mountain you can get on Kindle and Kobo at the moment. And there are some great sales. There's an Orenda sale on Kobo with all of our titles on it. So that's great. And it's going to be coming out sometime soon. To be confirmed. Watch this space and all of that. I was going to read the first few pages of Worst Case Scenario. Can't remember if that's what I read last time, but
Will you read it? Will you read it better this time?
I'm going to read it better this time, probably. So, glasses on. See what the glasses look like with my
Oh,
hair.
Miss Moneypenny.
It makes my nose look 10 times longer, if you could imagine. Right, here we go. Every time Mary tried to relax in a bath, a paedophile ruined it. Tonight it was McKinley, who she'd visited on the way home and who'd sat on the sofa for 10 minutes with one or more balls hanging out of his shorts. She still wasn't sure if it was deliberate. Probably not, as Mary was 52, not 5. I'm not allowed to think about that, Mary said out loud, and McKinley's balls disappeared into the bubbles. As ever, another case invaded immediately. Not a sex offender, but a far more palatable wife killer who she'd be meeting for the first time tomorrow. 10 years ago, Dr. Liam McDowell took his beloved wife to Loch Fyne for oysters and on the way home drove the car off a bridge. A lot of murder-suicides seemed to end this way, with one party still alive, usually the prick whose idea it was. Mary put her head under the water and called on her victim empathy skills, imagining she was McDowell's dead wife, Bella. Liam's in the car beside me, belted in as I am. The water's rising and I'm running out of breath. Please do something, because I can't get out. He's undoing his seatbelt. Why won't mine budge? I can't define the look he gives me. Is it love? Before he forces his way out of the car. Mary lifted her head out of the bathwater, took a deep breath and repeated, I must not think about that. This mantra had helped keep her sane enough. Home was precious. Work must not invade. I must not think about that. A sacred rule that was impossible to obey, and the only one she wanted to. Thank you.
One final message for everybody in lockdown?
No, I don't have a message.
How about
you know what?
stay
This is
safe,
an
stay safe.
Stay safe. Do that.
A big wave.
Bye.
Thank you, Helen. That was Helen from her Glasgow home. Helen is from Australia, and I'm really excited to say that coming soon, out in ebook now, and out in August in paperback is Ash Mountain, which is set in her hometown, Australia, in a small town called Ash Mountain, where a devastating fire takes place. But before we leave off with worst case scenario, I did want to point out that this was a book of the year in the Telegraph, the Guardian, Literary Review, Scotsman, and The Week, and you will absolutely love it. And look out this week for a series of special offers for our award nominations. And next up, we've got Will Carver's Nothing Important Happened Today. This is a dark, incredible psychological thriller. Its craftsmanship is insane. I am utterly proud to publish this book because it's like nothing you will ever read or perhaps have ever read before. It was Book of the Year in a number of papers, including The Telegraph, who called it horribly addictive. And The Independent said that it's arguably the most original crime novel published this year. So it's its originality that makes it stand out. It forms a new series with Good Samaritans, which was out in 2018, and the upcoming Hinton Hollow Death Trip, which will be out in ebook in June and in paperback in August, but you can get it also as a limited edition hardback with Golds for Books, and you'll see the link to purchase at the bottom of this video. But let's focus on Nothing Important Happened Today. So the strapline for this is 9 suicides, 1 cult, no leader. So 9 people arrive one night on Chelsea Bridge. They've never met, but at the same time they leap to their deaths. Each of them received a letter in the post that morning, a pre-written suicide note, and a page containing only 4 words, Nothing important happened today. That is how they knew they'd been chosen to become a part of the people of choice, a mysterious suicide cult whose members have no knowledge of one another. 32 people on a train witnessed the event. 2 of them will be next. By the morning, people of choice are appearing around the globe. It's become a movement. A social media page that's lain dormant for 4 years suddenly has thousands of followers. The police are under pressure to find a link between the cult members, to locate a leader that does not seem to exist. But how do you stop a cult when nobody knows they're a member? So we're going over to Will now, to his home near Reading, and he's suitably attired for this one. Go, Will.
Thanks for coming along to hear me read from Nothing Important Happened Today. How do you stop a cult when nobody knows they're a member? I have a bit of a fascination with cults and everything surrounding them. Cult leaders, cult members, and that cult mentality really fascinates me. I was watching a documentary about the People's Temple, and one of the former members who managed to survive said this: "Nobody joins a cult. Nobody joins something they think is going to hurt them. You join a religious organisation, you join a political movement, and you join with people that you really like." It's really turned things upside down for me. I hadn't considered that you don't join a cult. You hang around with people that you like, that have the same interests as you. It's a club, and eventually things progress. And this sparked the idea for this novel, where the members have no idea they're in a suicide cult. The story begins on Chelsea Bridge. There are 9 people who've never met, don't know each other, never spoken before. They each arrive one night, attach a rope around their neck to the girder behind them on the bridge. Without speaking, they run forward and leap over to their death. We find out that morning each of them received a note in the post that simply said, "Nothing important happened today." This is how they knew to meet there at that time and do what they did. When this happens, a train stops opposite them. 32 people witness the event, and 2 weeks later, 2 of them receive a letter in the post with the same message. Now, spliced between these cheery chapters is what appears to be an instruction manual on how to start your own successful cult. They are quite angry chapters, but were incredibly fun to write, and I'm going to read you one now, titled "Everyone is Crazy." Here we go. There was a time, and it wasn't that long ago, when being crazy actually meant something. Now, everybody's fucking crazy. Look at Manson and his family and Helter Skelter. Think about Sun Myung Moon and 2,000 couples being matched up and married off at Madison Square Garden. Consider Heaven's Gate and trying to catch up with a UFO being chased by a comet. Where are these crazies? Now you have to be Harold Shipman just to get noticed among the lunatics and terrorists and school shootings. You probably don't even know who David Miscavige is. And you think it's easier to recruit the nobodies, that there's nothing to them, that they are the menial workers, the dropouts, that they are somehow weaker. You're wrong. Anybody can feel like a nobody, like the thing they are doing doesn't matter, like they wouldn't be missed by anyone if they were gone. And it's not just the recent batch of entitled millennials who want everything and want it now and for no effort. It's not just women looking at magazine covers and feeling overweight and ugly. It's their parents too, feeling inadequate, as social media personas illustrate the perfectly content lives of everyone around them. When they're seeing loving marriages and family get-togethers and time spent active or with grandchildren or pets. When people have time to work and look after each other and take pictures of the cakes they have baked and iced with their delicately manicured and creative hands. And their own parents who can't keep up with the pace of technology and feel that the youth of today have no concept or respect for what they have lived through. And their diets are so poor that they have diabetes and pills that counteract the effects of the pills they are already taking every day. Starting a cult is easier than ever because people want a way out of their lives. They want it to be simple, a tablet that will melt all the fat so they don't have to work hard at the gym or quit bacon. Or some medication prescribed by a lazy doctor that will perk up your mood and mask your pain and aid your insulin production so that you can still scoff donuts. There's cognitive behavioural therapy and neurolinguistic programming, and everyone's a whack job because they can be or because it's somehow cool. They are crying out for their brains and their souls to be washed. And it degrades the thoughts and feelings of those who are truly suffering. It's the people who actually want to die that should be allowed to live. Now, everybody is a little bit crazy. So to cut through all the depression and morbid obesity and cars ploughing through crowds of civilians, you have to put 9 people on a bridge with ropes around their necks just to be heard. Thanks for listening. I will be back at some point with my Orenda in Isolation video where I will read a section from the new book, which isn't out yet, Hint and Hollow Death Trip. Thanks for listening and stay safe. Thank you.
Thank you, Will. We're always looking for new ways to engage readers, and Will in his exercise gear is obviously one of them. Will is actually just about to teach an exercise class, hence his attire. But thank you so much, Will, and thank you for listening. And if you'd like to vote for these 2 books, Helen Fitzgerald's Worst Case Scenario and Will Carver's Nothing Important Happened Today, please see the details at the bottom of this screen. We would love to see them shortlisted and win this amazing award. Of course, there is no Theakston's Old Peculier Crime Festival this year. It's been put off because of the coronavirus, so we'll do it this. But thanks for listening, and we'll see you next week for Orenda Books at Bedtime.